Well, hello Rockhounds, Lapidary lovers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. What do we got going on up here on the bench today? Well, we got a bunch of rocks up on the bench is what we got. And they're up on the bench because I'm about to cut them with my lapidary saws and see what's inside. There's a lot of interesting rocks here. They're fairly interesting on the outside, but I want to know what's inside, because that's where the beauty might be hiding on some of these. And as we go, I'll tell you a little bit about these rocks. They came from a variety of different places. I've got two different sizes here. I've got big rocks for cutting on the big 16-inch lapidary saw. And I've got a couple more of those because that saw is pretty quick compared to my 10-inch Raytech trim saw, which is slow but makes an amazingly nice cut. And we got three small rocks for cutting on it. So I just need to decide what I want to cut first. And let's get moving, okay? Because my lapidary saws have been tied up for weeks and weeks now doing nothing but cutting heat-treated fossilized coral for my stepson. And I have a video about that. I'll put a link to that in the upper right. I've been doing nothing but cutting that stuff up for him, and he just took a massive pile of it off to nap in today. We'll see how he does selling it, okay? Hopefully he does pretty good. But anyway, my saws are free. I can actually work on my own projects now. So let's pick a couple of rocks and get started. I really want to know what we got here. This is a rock I picked up at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show back in February. I got this out of a bin full of Moroccan agates. I'm not sure it's really a Moroccan agate. That's just the bin I got it out of. It's really badly cut. Like somebody gnawed on it with beaver teeth. Let me see if I can recut it and try and expose whatever internal goodness there is on this thing. So I think I'll put that in Lazarus, the 16-inch saw, first off and start cutting it. And then for the small saw, I've got this piece of agate here. This might be lysite agate. I'm not 100% certain. I'm pretty sure it's probably lysite agate. But it looks like it's going to be really pretty when I carve into it. In fact, this side's been cut and it looks pretty good. But it looks pretty good pretty much everywhere. So I'm going to take a few slices off of that. So let me put this in the 10-inch Raytech saw and get that started. And then we'll take a look at the pieces as they come off the saws. I'm pretty sure this one will be done first because the 16-inch saw is faster. And then we'll move on to some of this other stuff, and I'll tell you where it came from. Okay, I'm going to start this one in the Raytech saw first because I know it's going to take longer. Especially since I'm looking at this and trying to decide how I want to cut it. And it's been cut along this short face, but I think I want to try cutting it along this longer face here, because it looks like it might be amazing underneath this crust. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a crust there, but that looks like that's going to be amazing. So let me get this in the Raytech saw on this face, and we'll get started cutting it. Now, as for this quote-unquote Moroccan agate, it may be. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like all the others I bought there. This is really badly cut. And what I would like to do is cut it right through here. Cut off the cut faces and expose the insides. So let me see if I can mount this in Lazarus. This is going to be tricky. I can mount it like this and cut it. So I cut off the cut faces and just expose the uncut nodule here. It might be amazing inside. It might be a dud. You never know. But I didn't pay that much for it. I got it out of a batch. I got it out of a big lot of Moroccan agates I bought at the Tucson show. So we'll see. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's pretty ugly as it is. Let me see if I can make it prettier. All right, well, here it is cut. Here's the heel over here. And here's the rest of the nodule. I've got them propped up on this rock to reduce the reflections so you can actually see them. Not too bad. I mean, it's kind of not typical for what I was seeing from the Moroccan agates I got over there in Tucson, but it's got a lot of pluminess in it. It's got some areas of clear chalcedony with some bands. It's got some red, yellow, orange, brown. Very interesting. This might be pretty polished. This really might be pretty polished. It's wet with saw oil still, so it's kind of shiny. This heel, I can maybe try slabbing the thicker side of it here, because it's kind of tapered. There we go, you can see the taper. But maybe I can get some slabs out of it where I can cab something, possibly. So I definitely think I've improved it. That's good. Because as it was pretty ugly. And it looked like it had been cut by a complete amateur, so yeah. I think polished, that could be pretty. Alright, I think we're off to a good start. We gotta find another victim for Lazarus now. So, on my recent trip to Arizona, I was out there staying at my place in Arizona. One thing I love to do when I'm in Arizona is go rock hounding. Okay, and I spent this whole last trip exploring new areas to rock hound, places I'd never been before, including a roadside ditch that I've driven past 100 times going in and out of my place. And every time I drive past it, I look down there, see all the rocks down there, and think to myself, you need to go look and see what kind of rocks are in that ditch. And for years and years, I just never got around to it until this last trip where I did. I went down that ditch, I rock hounded that ditch, I found some amazing stuff. I'll put a link in the upper right to that rock hounding adventure. You can check it out if you like. This is, I think, one of my best finds from that trip. This, even though it doesn't look like much at the moment, is Arizona Rainbow Petrified Wood. See the colors in there. I do hope they're coming through. So I saw this face first, poking out at me, and saw the colors in it. And then once I got it wet, I'm like, whoa, what have I got here? So I think what I want to do is I want to put this in Lazarus and clean up this face and just see if it's as pretty inside as I hope it's going to be. So, yeah, I think I'm going to put it in Lazarus and just sort of cut this face off, and we'll see what we've got going on inside. I want to see just how pretty it is. I want to see how brecciated or cracked up it is, and might get some slabs off of it. So, let me get this in there and get it going while the Raytech is finishing up with the first piece. All right, I got a couple slices off of this rainbow petrified wood from Lazarus here, and this is kind of what I was afraid of, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, it's really pretty stuff. The colors in there are just amazing. The textures, the patterns are amazing, but it's all brecciated. It's all broken up. If I was to drop this on the ground, it would break into a million pieces. You can see all the cracks in it. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better further into the rock. So I don't think there's any point in trying to make any more slabs out of this. I really think that this is just not going to make good slabs. And that's a problem with rocks you find, in a cold climate. Like, Arizona, people don't think of it as a cold climate, but it gets well below freezing every year in the wintertime, especially up towards the mountains where I found this stuff. And, this stuff that's exposed at the surface or not buried very deep in the ground, groundwater gets inside it, and then the freeze-thaw cycles just make it crack something awful. Just terrible, unfortunately. So I really don't think this is too usable. I mean, some of these pieces might be big enough to cab, and might be pretty enough to cab, possibly. Hard to say. I mean, I'll give it some thought and decide whether I want to take any more slabs off this. What my best bet might be just to break it up with a hammer, which probably won't be too hard. Just a couple whacks and probably fall apart. And then save the pieces for tumbling, because these will tumble really, really pretty, really colorful. Make some amazing looking tumbled rocks. So that's a possibility. So the rock won't go to waste. And I'll decide whether I really want to try cutting any deeper into it. We'll see after I break it up whether any of these pieces are big enough and pretty enough to try cabbing. Otherwise, it'll all just get tumbled. So that's kind of what I was expecting. This has been my experience with petrified wood you find near the surface. Every once in a while, you find a really good, solid piece. But a lot of times it's like this, unfortunately. Okay, so I guess we need something else to put into Lazarus. So what's the next victim going to be? Well, I've got this right here. I've had it for a while now. I guess I got this probably last February from my buddy Jim out in Phoenix when I was in Arizona for the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. He gave me this, and he says it's a piece of Blue Forest petrified wood. And yeah, I can believe it. I can see little bits of the color. And he says what I need to do is just cut the ends off of it and expose the unweathered wood inside. The wood is, I've dealt with blue forest wood before. If it's exposed to the weather, it gets this white crust on it, and you can't even tell what it is. But if you kept this crust off, you got the really pretty blue forest wood inside. So I'm going to mount this in Lazarus, and I'm going to cut this face off, and we'll see what it looks like. And then if it looks really good, I'll turn it around and I'll cut this face off. And we might have two really pretty faces of blue forest petrified wood here that we can polish up and make gorgeous. So let me get this in Lazarus and get it started up. Well, would you look at these slices I got off that agate on the Raytech saw? Nice. Yeah, this is lysite agate. This is, I've got a sweet spot for lysite agate. My wife and I have been out hunting it on Lysite Mountain. And this is just beautiful stuff. Nice little slices here. I think there's some cabbable stuff in both of these slices here. This is the end that I started the slice on. Here's the second slice. Look at that eye in there. Yeah, look at that. Nice. And then here's what's left of the rock. That's really pretty, I think. I might be able to get one more slice out of it, though holding it's not going to be easy. But I'll give that some thought, whether I want to slice that up or what I want to do with it. But yeah, that's some nice looking stuff right there. I really like lysite agate when I get it. Alright, so I guess we need something else to put in the 10-inch Raytech. What are we going to cut next? What's the next victim? Well, I'm thinking this right here. This is some Brecciated Jasper sent to me by a viewer of my channel who lives in Michigan. He says it's Lake Superior Brecciated Jasper. So what I would like to do is get a slice or two off of it and see how nice it looks and see whether it looks cabbable or not. I just got to figure out how I want to mount it in the saw. I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess I might have to mount it like this and cut it like this, because the Raytech can't handle stuff that's too tall, and that'll be too tall. So, yeah, or do I want to come in from that side? I don't know. I'll see how it goes in the saw when I get over there, and we'll see what we come up with after taking a couple slices off of it. Well, this is interesting. I mean, here's the piece I cut off, and look, it's gone black when it's wet with oil. So is this face. When it's wet with oil, it's black, but as it dries out, it turns light again. That's very interesting. Very interesting. I wonder if it'll stay dark once it's polished. Huh. I haven't seen this before. Let me flip the thing around and cut the other side. And we'll see what it looks like, and then pull it out and look at the heels and the log itself once this second cut's done. Well, that cut didn't quite go as planned. I started it, walked away from the saw for a few minutes, came back. After only a few minutes, and it was awful quiet over here, I thought, uh-oh, it's not been long enough to cut through that rock. What's going on? Then I noticed that the belt was broken. But that wasn't all of it. The rock had twisted 90 degrees in the clamp, and the saw blade's broken. Horribly bent and broken. So, yeah. Gonna have to fix that. Fortunately, it's not the first belt that Lazarus has eaten. And this blade I knew was on its way out anyway. It's been bent and straightened a couple of times and it had a wobble to it. So I have a new blade and I have a couple of new belts. So let me change out the blade, put a new belt on Lazarus here, get him up and running again, and then figure out if I can secure this rock tighter in the clamp. It's an oddball shape. It doesn't really want to be clamped in this thing too well, but we'll give it the old college try and see if we can cut the other end of Jim's piece of Blue Forest Petrified wood here. So hopefully without destroying Lazarus again. Don't worry, Lazarus, I'll bring you back from the dead one more time. Well, one more time this week. Next week, probably happen again. Yeah, as Lazarus' issues go, this is actually pretty minor. He's had a lot worse problems in the past. I'll have him up and running again here in a bit. Yeah, I know he's dirty. I've been cutting all that coral for my stepson and just sort of giving it superficial quick cleanups every once in a while. It's got a nice thick layer of coral dust in it. After I'm done cutting the rocks for this video, I was planning on giving him a thorough cleaning. So let me just see if I can get him up and running again so we can finish the rocks in this video. Alright, there we go. Lazarus, well, as close to good as new as he ever gets, being 60-some years old probably. Anyway, got the new blade on it, new belt, rock back in the saw. Got some wooden wedges under, which you really can't see from this angle, to try and keep it from moving. I got the clamp down as tight as I want to put it. I'm afraid I'm going to crack the rock if I tighten it anymore. Hopefully, we can get through this cut without ruining my brand new $260 blade. We shall see. All right, let me start it up, and we'll see what we get. All righty, now that Lazarus is up and running again and cutting like a champ, look what we got here. We got some nice looking Blue Forest Petrified wood under that white crust. Yes, there is the dark blue, almost black Blue Forest stuff underneath. So here's one heel, here's the other heel, here's one side, here's the other side. I probably should have taken a little more off this one because it's all fractured here. This won't polish up nice, but this side will polish up nice. That'll be really pretty. So yes, this worked great. All right. Well, thank you, Jim, for giving me this log of Blue Forest Petrified wood. It has turned out to be very, very nice indeed after cutting. So I guess we need another victim for Lazarus. Let's see what we've got left to cut over here. Well, I see something I've been wanting to cut for a while. Speaking of petrified wood, we got another chunk of petrified wood. I found this rockhounding with my wife out in southeastern Wyoming in the spring. And at first I thought it was just some funky Jasper, but then I got to looking at it closer and nope, that's petrified wood. So I think what I'd like to do is cut it on one end and have a look at the end grain, and then maybe cut it with the grain and see how both cuts look and decide what else I might want to do with this rock after I have those cuts in. So let me load this up in Lazarus and we'll get it cutting. Hey Dan, wow, this Brecciated Jasper you sent me is really, really pretty. Look at that. Yeah, I got it propped up on this paint stir sticks to try and minimize the reflections of my lab lights and the sky, because they're wet with saw oil, but that makes them look really pretty when they're wet. Oh my goodness. Look at that. These, I think, are cabbable, these slices. Wow, that is some really amazing stuff. And I've got a whole lot of the rock left. It's still in the clamp in the Ratex saw. I didn't take it out. But, I mean, I've cut maybe a quarter of the rock. So there's a lot of the rock there yet that I could get slabs out of. That is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you again, Dan, for sending me this stuff. This is just amazing. I'll probably tumble the heel and maybe tumble a slab or two and set aside some slabs for cabbing in the future. I think that's what I'm going to do, because this stuff's just gorgeous. Look at the pattern. That's amazing. All right, so I guess we need another victim for the Ray Tech. What have we got left? Well, we've got this Montana agate, Montana moss agate. Doesn't look like much on the outside, but yeah, where it was broken there, you can see it's got some nice moss hiding on the inside. I'll bet if I cut one of these crusty faces off, this one or this one, I'll bet we'll see some really pretty stuff inside. So let me see how I can get this into the Ray Tech so I can cut a few slabs off of it, and we'll see what it looks like. This is probably going to take a while. I think the Montana moss agates are the hardest stuff I cut. It is super hard stuff, these agates. This is going to take a while to cut, but I bet it's going to be pretty. So let me get it started. So here's this Wyoming petrified wood. The cuts along the grain are amazing. Look at that. Is that cool or what? And the end grain is kind of cool too. That's neat. That is very, very pretty stuff right there. I like that. I've decided if I want to take some more slices off of this. I might. Maybe get another slice or two off and then polish the rest of the rock. We'll see. But I think it's time to find another victim for Lazarus. I'll save this for another day. So, while we're waiting on the Ray Tech to finish, I think I've got time to cut another rock in Lazarus. I'm going to save that double bubble geode for last that I showed you earlier. And I'm going to cut this, which has been laying beside my saw for, well, months. I just haven't got around to cutting it yet. This is something my stepson and his friend found while they were fossil diving. It's some kind of nodule. And it is absolutely covered on the outside with crinoid stem parts. I'll give you a close-up look at this with my phone. But clearly, this is some kind of fossil nodule. It'll be interesting to see what is inside it. So, yeah, maybe some more crinoid stuff, or maybe something else. So, I'll give you a close-up look, then we'll get it in the saw and get it started cutting. There, can you see all the little crinoid stem rings and parts in the surface of this nodule? So it's definitely some sort of fossil nodule here. So how do I want to cut it? Do I just want to cut it in half, or do I want to try taking slices off of it? Oh my goodness, what do I want to do? Well, I don't know. That's a really good question. Do I want to slice it? If I just want to slice it in half, do I want to slice it this way or this way? Oh, decisions. Well, the cut will definitely be quicker if I go this way. So, maybe I'll try that. We'll get it in there and cut it this direction. Alright, so here's this nodule, cut in half, roughly. And at first glance, it looks pretty bland. It looks like it's mostly quartz on the inside, little bit of rind of agate around the outside. Can you see that? You zoom in on one half here and the other. But yeah, so it's got a rind of agate around a gigantic quartz nodule. That's what this is, just a great big quartz nodule. Okay, big deal, right? No big deal. Well, think about this. The whole outside of this nodule is encrusted with crinoid parts, okay? So these animals lived somewhere between, 430, 280 million years ago, somewhere in that range. They lived for quite a while, different species, for these sorts went extinct. So this crust around the outside with the crinoids on it is really old. That's impressive. We're talking hundreds of millions of years old. For potentially the better part of 500 million years old. But what's more interesting is the stuff in the middle. It's got to be even older. It had to be around before all the crinoid stuff got encrusted on the outside of it. So, it's not an impressive looking rock, but when you cut a rock like this and you look at it, you can really feel the age of the earth here. Okay? This is geological age right here. This is a really old rock. And it's got, it's got really old fossils crusted on it, but it's a whole lot older than fossils, I'm sure. A whole lot older than those fossils. So that's kind of cool. All right, so I guess we need another victim for Lazarus. So let me find that double bubble geode, and we will finally cut it. All we've got left is this big double bubble Mexican geode. So let me get him in Lazarus, and I'm going to cut it right through both bubbles. And geodes, well, they're kind of a crapshoot. Sometimes they're amazing inside, and sometimes they're ho-hum. So, hope for the best. The last double bubble geode I cut this way was absolutely gorgeous. So, keep your fingers crossed. We'll see what we get. So, here's that Montana moss agate. Now, I took a lot of cuts on this because, number one, I couldn't clamp it. So I took a cut off this side to flatten it so I could get it in the clamps. Look at the moss in there. I knew I was onto the right track when I took that cut. That's nice. I'm going to put that in my pile of rocks to tumble, and that's going to come out gorgeous. Then I cut a slice off of this side, but I wasn't really happy with it. I mean, it's got some interesting moss in it, but that interesting stuff kind of stopped. But I could see there was a lot of moss deeper in, so I turned it 90 degrees and took a couple of cuts. Here's the first cut, the heel. And I'm like, oh yeah, look at all that moss. Look at all that lovely moss in there. That nice or what? Yeah. And then I got myself a nice slice off of it. That's nice. And got some of the rock left. I might want to cut some from this side. So that's got some nice moss in there. It's got some interesting color variation. Darker on the outside, light on the inside too. So yeah, I might want to take some slices from there and see if anything cabbable comes out of it. So yeah, I might do that. I love my Montana moss agates. I love them. And this one does not disappoint. This is a very beautiful agate. Alright, so I will give some thought to how I want to cut that. But I think Lazarus is done. So let's see what's going on with him. Woo, we cut a lot of rocks today. That's for sure. But how did we do with that last one, with the double bubble geode? Well, let's take a look. It had a surprise inside. It looks like a double geode from the outside, but on the inside it is one big mass of chalcedony. And yeah, there's no hollow in it, so I guess technically it's not really a geode. But wow, look at that chalcedony. Look at the bands in it. From sort of dark gray on the outside to light blue to white in the middle. Very neat. Very, very neat. These would polish up gorgeous. I think they would. I'll need to knock that edge off right there, but that's no big deal. Wow. That turned out really nice. Look at the flow channel through here where the liquids entered and left the geode. Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. I like that. I'm very happy with that. Well, there we are. All in all, I'd say a pretty successful day at the saw, even if I did wreck a blade and have to replace a belt. Not too bad. We got some really good stuff here. We got some stuff that I think is going to polish up amazing. We got some stuff that I think I can make some cabs out of. The light-side agate over here is especially nice. The Montana moss agate is especially nice. The Wyoming petrified wood is amazing over here. The Blue Forest petrified wood, this is going to polish up and be just gorgeous. This double bubble geode, which turned out to actually be a single bubble geode, that's going to be very nice, polished up. I got some pieces of this Brecciated Jasper that Dan sent me that I can make some cabs out of, and I got a whole lot of the rock left. In fact, he sent me 2 rocks, and I've only cut into 1 so far. A little bit disappointed with the petrified wood I brought back from Arizona. Look at it, it's breaking up already, just as I knew it would. But I'll tumble the pieces, and they will come out gorgeous. So that's nice. And I managed to upcycle this rather ugly Moroccan agate here into something a little bit nicer looking. Plus, we got a little bit of an unexpected lesson on the true age of the Earth by cutting this rock with its fossil-encrusted rind around much older material. So, you know, this stuff out here is at least a few 100 million years old, and, well, who knows how old the center of it is. You know, we could be talking 500 million or more. So, that's just amazing. So, yes, a great session at the saw. I'm very happy. It's been a lot of fun. I've got a lot of nice rocks here. I think off camera I'm going to take a few more slices out of this, maybe out of this, and maybe out of this, and have some stuff for cabbing down the road. And I might break this up a little bit to have some more material for my tumblers. And of course, a lot of this stuff's going to get polished too eventually. So, subscribe to see the future videos where I do all this stuff. And thanks a lot for watching this video. If you found it all informative, educational, inspirational, entertaining, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.